Hey guys, Queen Crazy here. It's obviously the end of the month, and you know what that means, I hope, because it's time for the last Q&A of the entire year. I'm not doing a Q&A next month because I've got the big awards show that I'm going to be doing at the end of every single year from now on, so that'll be instead of a Q&A next month. But if you're wondering also where that WWE 12 review is, because obviously I've got this thing, I've got it. But unfortunately for me, I haven't really had too much of a chance to play all of it. I've still got to do Road to WrestleMania. I've got to just basically get through the last little bits of it before I can really give it a full in-depth review. So that'll happen next week. How about that? Next week, WWE 12 review, in-depth, my opinions on the whole thing. I'm still playing a lot of it today. It's great. And I will give you my full in-depth review when that happens. But now it's time for the November Q&A. And guys, I will say it again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Do not forget to, because you may regret it in the long term if I get some great videos coming soon. Got some great videos coming up in December. Got some great videos coming up in the new year too. Hope you're all looking forward to those. Right, we'll go on with the first question from NJ17. You asked me, if you could run a WWE show for 1 week only, what matches would you make and why? Now, think about it this way. If you're telling me to run Raw for a week, I have to think about it this way. How many matches would I stick on a Raw card? Because there usually are, what, 4 matches on a show card? You may even tell me it could be a pay-per-view card. I don't know, honestly, what you meant by that. If it's Raw, if I was going to make a Raw SmackDown, if I was going to make any match I want, any match, Sin Cara versus Rey Mysterio for a start. Yes, you know I don't like Rey Mysterio. You know I hate the man's guts. But for this match, Sin Cara versus Rey, 2 great luchadors, they'd put on a fantastic match no matter where you'd put them. They'd know exactly what to do. I don't think Sin Cara would botch as much because also, of course, Rey can speak Spanish. It would work out quite well. Beth Phoenix versus Karma. Again, another person who's not in the ring because of injury, but still, perfect Divas match. Fuck it, it would be the best Divas match you could possibly ask for. 2 powerful Divas who have great in-ring ability. It would work out well. Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk? Yeah, who wouldn't want that? Fuck it, who doesn't want that? Honestly, I beg to question somebody who does not want to see Daniel Bryan CM Punk. It'll be the biggest match for a pure wrestling fan that you're going to see on a WWE product. I'd definitely stick that in a I mean, sure, sticking it on a TV show would be shit to do, but then again, they put John Cena, Shawn Michaels on Raw in London back in 07, and that won PWI Match of the Year. So, it's all up there, and it's debatable, isn't it? Main event. Let's see. I don't know what I would do. Maybe Triple H versus The Miz versus John Cena versus Randy Orton in a fatal 4-way match for the world title. It could work. That would sell a bunch of pay-per-views, wouldn't it? 4 of the biggest stars in the WWE currently in a ring fighting for the title. How epic would that be? I mean, they're the only things I'd really think about. If I was going to run Raw or SmackDown or a house show for a week, I'd put those matches on straight away. But it didn't really specify if it was pay-per-view or anything like that. So, NJ, I hope you're happy with that. I hope you are, because that's a good answer from me. As good as answers you're going to get from me as anything else. F My Life for Lulz asks, what was your take on Kevin Thorne during his short WWE run? Now, of course, if you don't know your history, Kevin Thorne wasn't the only thing Kevin Thorne actually did. He was, of course, Mordecai in the middle of 2004. Now, the Mordecai thing I thought could have gone a bit better. He was universally didn't get much time at all, and people didn't give 2 shits. People just think he was going to be some kind of divine Undertaker, which, to be honest, one of my created guys in WWE 12 is going to have the exact same gimmick. Holy shit. His vampire gimmick I thought had a lot of potential. But again, people said it was dark, brooding with gothic elements. Again, Undertaker ripoff. He has good in-ring ability, not going to lie. Mike work needed a bit of touching up, and he could have been something, but he should have made more of it. I mean, having Ariel, of course, I think it was Ariel, the manager he had, leave, damaged the gimmick, and it made him kind of damaged goods in a way, because she was obviously one of the things that kept people interested, going, ooh, look at the eye candy. But who's this wrestler who's managing? Who is this person? How good is he? Is he intense? You know, he's a guy who had a lot of potential, but again, booking fucked up, and just like Paul Burchill, a decent gimmick character idea went nowhere. And personally, I think like he should have done a lot better with what he got, because that vampire gimmick, think about it now, Twilight is heavily embedded in the press and the media. Vampires are on TV, and the Vampire Diaries on ITV2. Basically, vampires are a giant thing right now. I'm amazed they haven't even brought Kevin Thorne back for that. Because personally, I'm amazed they haven't even jumped on that bandwagon. But, I mean, then again, during his little run he had a lot of potential, but it was wasted. I'll say that for sure. Rico 3, you asked, if you put Brock Lesnar, Mason Ryan and Batista in a match, who do you think will win? It's a silly question because obviously you can tell who's going to win. That's Brock Lesnar, no doubts. There is a simple couple of reasons for that. One, Mason Ryan may look like Batista. He may have the muscles of Batista, and basically he may have the bloody aggression of both Batista and Lesnar combined. The only issue I have, he has a very, very limited moveset. So in the ring, he would basically get absolutely nowhere. That would basically take him out of it. Batista, again, limited moveset stops him. He's quite slow in the ring. He's got very powerful moves, but I don't think he'd actually get anywhere in the match. Brock Lesnar, however, on the other hand, ridiculously a lot of speed and agility for a guy his size, power moves, submission moves, could do a shooting star press for fuck's sake. He's got the ability and the freakish strength to basically overpower Ryan and Batista. One of the most powerful of the most recent era and one of the upcoming guys who's got the muscle on them. So Batista would easily wipe the floor with both of them. And honestly, I think Batista would have to cheat to win against Brock Lesnar. Don't think they ever faced in 2002, 3, 4. I don't think they ever actually faced. Even when Batista was up and coming with Ric Flair, they never crossed eyes at all. I mean, even in the Royal Rumble, when Batista, Kane, Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar were the last 4 in 2003, you kind of look and think, Batista could have done something there. But then again, Lesnar was a juggernaut, he couldn't be stopped. So, yeah, Brock Lesnar would easily win, no doubts. F My Life for Lols, your second question. What was your opinion on the Sean O'Haire Devil's Advocate gimmick back in 2003? I really feel as though the writers really dropped the ball there, and that gimmick could have made Sean O'Haire a main eventer. Sean O'Haire was apparently going on hotcakes going up through WCW in 2000, 2001, and I didn't remember this gimmick too well. I had to look back on it. And I remember this is when I first really tuned into SmackDown, when Roddy Piper, of course, tried to screw Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, and I really didn't like it. I love the fact that Piper was the mouthpiece of this guy, because it made you give a shit about him. And the minute the minute Piper got released, the gimmick just dropped. It's like the same with Kevin Thorne. The manager was one of the things that made you want to give a shit about this guy. He's got good mic skills, decent in-ring ability, much like Kevin Thorne. But again, without because Roddy Piper would get you interested no matter what you're doing. He would badmouth everybody, brag about how good this guy is, and effectively make him huge. I think if Piper hadn't been released a month after this push was started, of course he beat Rikishi at Backlash 03, I think, and you look at it and think, yeah, this guy could have been something. It could have been something, but again, Piper was gone. Obviously, no way you're going to make it without Piper, because I keep saying, if Piper is your manager, you're getting somewhere. Same with having Paul Heyman as your manager. Well, for Heidenreich it slightly backfired, but with Lesnar it fucking worked. And that's how important managers are sometimes. You need a mouthpiece to actually make you care. And both Kevin Thorne and Sean O'Haire both lost their mouthpieces that made us care, and well, even Rodney Mack lost Teddy Long in the... mostly because Rodney Mack was actually not that good at wrestling, but still, he left. What happened there? Well, that's stuff fucked up. So that proves how good managers are. And Sean O'Haire could have made it, I think. He had enough in-ring ability to mount a decent mid-card title challenge. I don't think he was skilled enough to really make it to the main event, though. He was never really that good. He was kind of like Matt Morgan, who has definitely got the in-ring ability, but then his mic work and the gimmick he was saddled with didn't work around that time either. Actually, the less said about Nathan Jones, the better. But 2003 had a lot of stories where Guys came in, then they just disappeared after 04 came in. So I think he wouldn't have made it to the main event, no. But losing Piper was a massive, massive stumbling block. He could have been a mid-carder, but that's all I'm going to say about that. NJ, your second question. What do you think of the current PG's effect on WWE? Now, I was, of course, thinking to myself, this is kind of a question that I could have answered in my PG rating 15 Minutes of Fame rant a couple of months back. But I realise now, it's the effect on the product. And I think, I said this before in my PG rant, that basically, the one thing this obviously leads is that people look at the words PG and then think this is going to be shit already, making their enjoyment of the product get lost. I mean, for me, I often forget PG's there, apart from some moments where I go, yeah, that wouldn't happen in any other time. It makes the product a lot less intense, which is something I hate, which obviously a lot of you do know by this point. I think the effect of it is it's made these corporations basically get strangled and tell WWE how to direct their product, which isn't right, because the bloody booking staff and Vince McMahon should tell themselves how to direct the product, you know what I mean? And that's the issue. It kind of makes you feel that WWE aren't in control of what they can put on TV anymore, which is a bit sad, because you'd usually expect, with McMahon being the giant creative juggernaut that he is, and the owner of the company, you'd think he'd be able to. But obviously, the sponsors from the USA Network, the Be a Star campaign, which I think is bullshit, and Mattel things, and all these charities, and even GLAAD, for example, saying you can't use homophobic slurs on TV, that didn't happen up until the PG rating switch. So I'm thinking to myself, it's basically dumbing down WWE, I understand that, but it's kind of making outside influences turn WWE into what they want, because they know it's an easy media target, and I feel that's a bit stupid, isn't it? I mean, it's a product that people can make, in a way. It's the product that people in the back know they can make entirely their own if they get the chance. Yeah, Brian Gerwitz, again, looking right your face. But I just don't like outside companies telling WWE what to do. And then again, the Premier League in football have often said that the TV satellite providers often dictate what the fixture list should be by putting games at certain times for TV things. I know Ipswich have had a problem with that, with some of our games being moved to evening or afternoon ones just for Sky. So it's like that, and you think, why? Why do outside companies have this effect? I think that the PG's effect is that. Outside companies telling the WWE what to do, which makes the product less of what it could be, and it enforces the crowd's negative stigma on the PG wording and product to continue. And it's a different aspect of it, I'm sure, because people are just saying they're just doing it for the money. They are doing it for the money. Vince McMahon would basically give up his own grandchildren for the opportunity of having a shitload of money. But the fact is, you can't deny this outside influence is extremely influential on how they put the product out, and it's obvious to me the effect is quite large. Even Twitter's emphasis is the fact that they can't fill time with anything extraordinarily offensive or something like that, so they have to fill it up with Twitter banter, which pisses me off. But again, outside corporations influencing problems. PG gets more put over to us than we might think. We get a slight issue. Hope that answers your question. Ali Henty, yeah, Ali, you put a question in. Finally, I've wanted you to put one of these for ages. Good question, actually. Who is the most memorable wrestler for you and why? And you said this to me quite specifically. It's not your favourite, but the person who's the most memorable to you. Now, there are a lot of wrestlers who I would say are the most memorable to me, but there's only one that stands out, and that's Stone Cold Steve Austin, because there's nobody in the professional wrestling industry who has given you more great moments than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, sure, Undertaker, Rock, Mick Foley, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Harley Race, all these great people, most of them have put on great matches and have had some great moments. You may remember them for great matches, but it's the moments people often remember. And when I got into wrestling, I often looked at the high DVDs. I never really focused on the matches. I always focused on the promos and the segments. And today, I often think I'm more focused on matches. Promos and segments, I couldn't give a shit, because there's hardly any moments nowadays, but at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 a year that really grab my interest. But Stone Cold gave you those moments where it made you love the guy, not just because he was a great wrestler, but because he did things that you just wanted to get behind the guy. I mean, he destroyed Rock's car with a monster truck, filled Vince McMahon's car with cement, nearly tried to shoot him with a fake gun, got into a fight with Mike Tyson, buried Undertaker alive for one, beer truck incident, I won't forget about that, going over to Brian Pillman's house and then having him shoot him. There's so many moments. Fuck it, even the most memorable for me, going in the shopping mall with Booker T, going into the hospital against McMahon and beating the shit out of him, even pouring the beer onto Michael Cole before this year's WrestleMania. Every time you look at memorable moments that stick out in your mind, Stone Cold Steve Austin will always do it. He didn't always put on fantastic matches, but when he did, it made you remember how great this guy is. And to me, just based from memory, every time I think of wrestling, okay, I would think of Benoit, I think of Punk, I think of Undertaker, but Stone Cold is always the one that comes to mind. People right now are probably saying to me, what about The Rock? What about The Rock? Thing is, Rock may have had some epic moments and some fantastic promo skills, but when was he doing these incredible things that made you remember the guy? Because to me, apart from the promos and a few obvious big matches, he wasn't too much to me. I remember Stone Cold far more than I remember The Rock, which to some is a bit of sacrilege, because some believe Rock is better than Austin, and the debate goes on. But Austin just is the most memorable wrestler. He's the most popular in history for a fucking reason, based on the fan base at the time, and based on what he did, it's obvious to see why you'd remember him more than most people. So, to me, based on those moments alone, he is the most memorable wrestler ever. For me, obviously. Habashme! I only got one question this time. I was expecting a little bit more. But then again, I've been trying to answer this question to myself all week. Who would you say has been the wrestler with the biggest hype that never went anywhere? Oh, this is tough. Because the idea of a guy being pushed, not going to the highest level, is tough, because some guys can win titles and not make it to the main event, and that can be considered a bit of a downer. Now, I think there's only 2 or 3 guys that really come into my mind, and they've all won championships at a major level. I'll give Shelton Benjamin, John Morrison, because they are athletically sound, not very good on the mic, and that's one of the things that kept them from going anywhere. They had a lot of hype behind them, and that's what made them something special. I mean, also, I don't know. This question was very hard for me to answer because my thoughts on them are they were good in ring. Most of these guys who don't make it are great in ring guys who don't fit the sports entertainment mantra of having good fucking mic skills. And if there's anyone who had the biggest hype but didn't make it anywhere in the WWE, I mean, Chris Harris, formerly of America's Most Wanted. He came into WWE with a lot of hype on his back from the internet. Came in as Brandon Walker, wrestled 1 match on ECW, and then fucked off back to TNA. And it's me thinking he could have been something. Seth Rollins has the massive hype at the moment. He's still stuck in FCW. I'm still wondering when they're going to use Tyler Black. Skip Sheffield, apparently, is being repackaged. He had a lot of talent on him. He's been injured, and he hasn't gone anywhere either. Justin Gabriel as well. The hype around him has been mostly positive. Hasn't gone anywhere either. But when you look further back in history, Brian Kendrick is also another one that has and Paul London, both those guys, great tag wrestlers who are quite enthusiastic on the mic. Where the fuck are they gone? Nowhere. They got 1 tag reigning partner. I mean, sure, Kendrick managed to get 1 world title match and a championship scramble, but didn't make it anywhere either. I think the hype idea changes, where you can't really judge hype on either fan reception, guys in the back pushing them. It's tough, and I honestly can't fully answer it. Sorry about that, but it's a really tough question. It's the one question I believed I wouldn't be able to answer in this entire damn thing. So, I'm sorry about that, Habashme, but I hope what I've said, at least in part, answers your question. Ormond220 asks, would you be mad or happy if Vince ever ended up buying TNA? I'd be very happy. I mean, I'd be slightly sad that competition goes again. But on the other hand, you've got a shitload of talent from TNA that you kill to use. I mean, getting Kurt Angle back, Anderson, Mickie James, Victoria for a start. Hell, they even bring the Hardys back, it doesn't really matter. RVD. I mean, you've even got the originals. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Amazing Red. Great guys in there. Great guys in TNA's roster. Great people. And also, they've signed the OVW deal. Could also inkling there to bring them back to the WWE. Fuck, I hope that does happen in the future. This is why buying TNA is, to me, important. Because it gives you, like when WCW and ECW were taken over. You look at the talent that came in. Sublime wrestling talent. Sublime, and then some of them, from the time I started so watching this product, till about 2 or 3 years ago, some of these guys from the original buying out of WCW and ECW were still there in WWE, and that made me realise how good some of these guys actually were. I mean, some of them were with TNA like Sting and Hulk Hogan. You probably tell them to fuck off. But it would be better. I'd rather have Ring of Honor as competition rather than have TNA as competition, because they're not competition in my books. So it would be better. I think Vince would relish the opportunity of buying TNA. I'd love it because it gives more talent to the roster, and basically, I'd find it quite fun to see a TNA-style invasion angle with all the extra footage of all those matches. It'll give WWE 24/7 or WWE Network something to put on, wouldn't it? Cbrazzle1 asks, if you're gonna book The Undertaker's return, how would you do it in terms of persona, storyline, event, matches, etc.? I already had a go at this on my last Q&A about the WrestleMania thing, but before WrestleMania and all that, I had a feeling Taker returns at the Rumble. I always thought it would be the perfect place. He's done it before in 2003. Did it before. I think he should do it again, personally, because it's the best way to come back unannounced with no spoilers kicking your ass. Because he shaved his head, I'd love to have him come back as the badass. As the fact that it was basically just Mark Calloway with the Undertaker name on it. I loved it. Personally, I would love to see the American Badass gimmick come back. And storyline, of course, go after people who have done him wrong. Personally, I'd say go after Wade Barrett. I've said this a couple times. He buried you alive, for fuck's sake. Saying, this isn't just the Undertaker talking. This is me, the guy behind it, ready to whoop your ass what you did to me. Could go towards WrestleMania. Mick Foley getting involved as manager. Possibly facing Wade Barrett at WrestleMania. Maybe winning or losing. I'd book it that way. I'd make it because I think it needs the fact that the Undertaker may be the biggest gimmick of all time. But to me, the gimmick has run its course, and he needs to be basically just like a normal person, which is what made the American Badass to me so compelling, because you could relate to it. And I think just getting back at Wade for burying him alive, WrestleMania, big match, have it go on for about 20 to 30 minutes, show both these guys how they could do it in the ring, and that'd be fun. I think Undertaker returning for one last run against one up-and-comer would be fantastic. I don't want to see Mark Henry or Triple H doing it, though. That's the big thing. Rico3, your second question. Do you think we will ever see Shane McMahon back in the WWE, and would you want to see it? Personally, I don't see him coming back, because he's too busy involved in sports management roles and telecommunications in China. He's doing a lot for himself, making a name for himself outside his dad's product. Thinking I'm very happy that he's doing that well, to be honest. And I would like to see him back, though. Mostly because his death-defying stunts would make people go, oh my god, he's going to do it again, isn't he? Because every time Shane McMahon was willing to put himself on the line in any match, and he did it we all respect him for that. Every big risk he ever took, every match he put on, we really cared for what he did. And I think if he came back, people would love it. Because you'd be able to see some just jumping off the stage freaking things again. It'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Unless Vince dies and Shane has no choice but to keep the company for his own. People even say that Shane might come back and then take on Triple H for the ownership of the company once Vince either dies or retires. That could be something that could happen, but we'll have to wait and see for it. Personally, I don't think he will, but everything, you can never say never in professional wrestling until someone either dies or a company folds. So, we'll see how that goes. High Five Wrestling! Guys, please, if you haven't checked these people out, their link will be in the description. Great people, great wrestling videos, great in-depth reviews. Check them out when you can. They asked, do you think there will be any big comebacks before WrestleMania? You listed here Batista, Y2J, Lashley, MVP, Carlito, Lesnar, Stone Cold. Good list there. Obviously, this is spearheaded by this It Begins story. This It Begins promo that came up on Raw. I think this past week. I didn't watch all of it, but I did watch that bit. I think it was this past week. And many people are saying this is one of the first comebacks. And people are already thinking it's Y2J. Some are saying it's obviously going to be Stone Cold, because obviously could be Stone Cold, personally, because this Punk rivalry could come into perspective. Even Lesnar in WWE 12. Same with Batista. Even though he's doing stuff with MMA at the moment, he doesn't really care. MVP coming back would be lovely. But I don't know. I think with this It Begins thing, it starts the rumour mill from circulating. It starts it circulating. Because I was originally going to come on and say that there isn't going to be any big comebacks apart from The Undertaker. Possibly Mick Foley. Because to make that rivalry work, it would need both of those guys to be in there, wouldn't it? But I don't really see anyone else coming in, but now this It Begins thing has come up. Possibly Y2J. Many people are saying it's Y. And then obviously the second month of the 12th year, Y2J. It's a second day of January, Y2J. Simple. People are saying like that. They're trying to encrypt a code into it all. And it could. I think as Y2J, you can never take seriously on Twitter when he says, I'm never going to wrestle for the WWE again. Do not take that with any form of consideration of seriousness, because with Jericho he jokes all the time, even on the mic he does, so you can kind of say he could be, but this It Begin thing completely ruined my original answer to this question. But I think some big returns could happen, but I can't really specify who at this point. Raylot2 asks, do you think Zack Ryder could be a future world champion? No! No! Zack Ryder is never going to be a world champion. Never! Never in a million years! Anyone who thinks that is extremely deluded. He may be very highly over. And he may be in a US title picture now. But to me, he hasn't... Sure, he's charismatic, but he hasn't got the mic skills. Come on, the guy... He talks at such a slow pace, he can't make that out. His in-ring work, albeit very limited, is actually sometimes quite sloppy. His finishing move can botch almost every time he does it. And to me, he doesn't even fit the image that WWE really wants from a popular big world champion, do they? So, no, he's not going to do it. I don't think he's ever going to do it, personally. If he ever does, I will gladly eat something that's quite disgusting. But if he ever does become world champion, I will tip my hat off to him, because he will definitely have probably deserved it by then. And now for MSDC Punks, 2 questions. Save them for last, apart from a bonus question. Is a superstar's heel or face push better when the fans convince the writers to do it, or when the writers push it on the fans? Personally, better when the writers push it. Because Randy Orton was a convincing, compelling, awesome heel. The fans started cheering for him, he got turned into a dominant face. That, to me, was a complete fuck-up. I mean, sure, it doesn't work when Stone Cold is turned heel and the people don't accept it. But then again, that's when you're trying to accept kayfabe. You're trying to suspend your disbelief that this guy you once loved is now hated. You can suspend your disbelief for what he's doing, you could boo him. But then again, it's like hating me cheering on Punk when he's definitely a heel. It's like that. The fact is, if the writers push it, they have all the best intentions for it. They have the best intentions for this push. And to me, the fans do it. It makes the writers cut and shunt things. Makes them jump through hoops to give fans what they want at a rushed pace. And to me, that's not how it works. I mean, at the moment, Cena is being booed out of buildings. He should turn heel in retrospect. The writers aren't listening to the fans. In this respect. In this respect, WWE should do it. But Then again, to me, in the art of kayfabe, in the art of professional wrestling, where the booker has the power, and only when the people really do fucking demand it, then they should do that. The writers have all the power unless the people are speaking so loudly they cannot refuse. It's better when the writers push it because they have all the good stuff for it, and it makes you think, okay, I have to go along with it. I don't have to cheer for him if he's ripping the shit out of my hometown. And your second question. Do you think WWE's main eventers, Cena, Orton, Punk, etc., do enough to help mid-carders take that final step? If not, why do you think this is? Take a look at R-Truth, because he was buried by Cena. Simple. And Orton buried Christian for the best part of a whole year. He also buried Rhodes as well, even with the Intercontinental title on him. I don't think they do enough. Because these guys, I know they're the top, and the people, the kids, the women, the people who are casual fans want to see them win. But when you win, usually you advance mid-cards up to give your title pictures a bigger breadth of talent. And if you don't even have that, then what the fuck are you doing? Because this is the problem. Cena and Orton are so high up that you worry every time they're in the ring that they won't lose. They won't lose. Punk is willing to put anyone over, which is great, unless it's Orton or Cena, in which case it's invalid. I think the mid-carders need all the help from these guys. Shawn Michaels made a fucking career out of putting people over in great matches, either winning or losing. And people nowadays should do that. These main eventers should do that. Even Triple H would do the same. Well, I wouldn't say that in respect, because he could have put Sheamus over at WrestleMania 2 years ago. Didn't, did he? And it's the fact that it needs to be done. Simple. Main eventers need to help the mid-carders to make us care about them. Because if they're just languishing with no meaningful feud between each other, they won't rise to anything and they'll just be mid-carders for life. John Morrison, I'm looking in your direction. And finally, this was not going to originally be done. But I thought to myself, you know what? It's a question I've often been asked. And Henry Blanco fan asked me on one of my videos. And I thought, you know what? My last Q&A of the year, why not put it off with a bang? Why Cream Crazy? Because simply my name has got so many people wondering, why do you have a name like that? Because I remember when Dan Parkin, the British Fist, did a shadow saying, it's hilarious, and only on the internet could you get a username like Cream Crazy. Why would you have such a name like that? It's not as sick as you might think, and I've had people on band forums go at me saying, do you love the band Cream? And some other things are quite sick. I won't say them here. But people often say why, for example. And I wanted to kind of breathe the air as to why my username is this. Well, guys, I'm a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Have been since youth. When I first got on the internet, 2004, 5-ish, yeah, summer 2005, went on a Sonic forum and I thought, okay, what my username's going to be? And obviously people loved Tails, and I thought, oh, well, a second, too many people are using him as a name thing. I thought, who else do I like? Oh yeah, Cream. Cute as hell, has a chow that she uses to fight, can fly with her ears, kind of like Tails, but a lot smaller. I think to myself, okay, I like that character. What can I put afterwards to make it seem like I give a shit? So I found some people putting nouns or adjectives or even verbs or some kind of grammatical term or wording afterwards. And I thought, I'm crazy about Cream the Rabbit, so Cream Crazy. That's how it came to be, and it has been. I cannot believe it's stuck. Because I was thinking about changing my name on the internet countless times, but since 05, it's been on every single internet thing I've used, from YouTube to Last.fm to every forum known to man, except the WrestleZone forums, where I'm known as Crippler Frog Splash. I've got to post on there more. But, I mean, the fact is, it's kept me... People know me as CC and Cream Crazy, and I've always wanted to change it, but I haven't for some reason, and I think it's obvious to know why, because I do hate people kind of going completely mental with my name, saying, oh, he's crazy for Cream, he's a bit sick, he's a bit dirty-minded, or he's obviously likes Cream. Even though I find Eric Clapton extremely overrated, it's the issue. It's my username, and I've got to live with all the people going on about how stupid, how annoying it is, or just how ridiculous it is. But meh, it's something I've had to labour with through, and I actually am quite happy I've kept it, because everyone knows me as Queen Crazy, as CC. But obviously, where would I be without it? Because the internet would be nothing without it, would they? And guys, I'm going to end it there. That's my Q&A for November. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Remember, WWE 12 review coming next week. I will hope you're there for that, because I cannot wait to dissect this game fully. Remember, if you haven't, click the subscribe button up there. Also, go down into the comment section. If you want to answer any of the questions that have been put forward to me tonight yourself, go ahead, put them in the comment section. Click that like button as well. Add me on Facebook as well. I hope I remember to put the link in the description this time. Click on High Five Wrestling. Great people who need more love. And also MSDC Punk as well. Click his link as well. I'll put them both down there in the description. You know what? Also, guys, I'm sad. This is non-wrestling, but also want to say sad, tragic loss for football today with Gary Speed passing. Obviously, my condolences go out to your family and all of the clubs affected and all the people affected by this tragic loss in the world of sport. And guys, I will see you next week. I've been Queen Crazy, you've been people watching, and this is my November Q&A. Peace.